Hey guys, Jack here, and before we get started, I want to give a very special thanks to those who made this episode possible. First off, a few shoutouts to a couple of people who helped worked on this production, as well as a few YouTubers who could use some support from you guys. A big thank you to Brock McGinnis, aka Lightpost Films, Joe Brewer, aka Inuyasha Dinosaur 101, and a few extra shoutouts to Bernard KYER, Bradley Dunn, aka Studio 95, now known as OBSCUREMEDIATV, and LUNACHI BUNNIE. If you guys want to go support their channels, link down below. I'm sure they would really appreciate it. And another shout out we want to give to is to the Ray Harryhausen Foundation. It's officially sponsored by Ray Harryhausen's family, and if you guys want to go check it out, link down below if you want to donate. And of course, a very special thanks to all of our supporters on Patreon. If you guys want to donate to the channel, link down below. Just $1 or more will get you early access to all of our content, as well as other special features. Thank you all so much for watching, and enjoy the show. The following is a fan-based video review under fair use. 1 Million Years BC is owned by Hammer Studios, 20th Century Fox, Studio Canal, and the Ray and Diana Harryhausen Foundation. Please support the official release. What's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome to another review. Ray fucking Harryhausen. While I have mentioned him numerous times on this show, it's hard to believe that it's taking me this long to cover one of his movies. And it's a shame on my part, since he's actually one of my personal heroes. To many, he was considered the king of stop-motion animation, and I can totally agree with that. And on top of that, he was taught by the pioneer of stop-motion photography, and one of the creators of King Kong, of course, Willis O'Brien. Now, technically, I did review the Harryhausen film with the original Mighty Joe Young from 1949, which was Harryhausen's first major feature film. However, most of the direction goes to Willis O'Brien, so it doesn't really count in my eyes. However, of all of Harryhausen's films, which one should I really start off with? Should I go with the mythical legends like Jason and the Argonauts or Clash of the Titans? The adventurous stories of the Tales of Sinbad? Or the sci-fi classics of the 50s B-movies like 20 Million Miles to Earth or It Came From Beneath the Sea? Well, if I'm gonna start reviewing Harryhausen movies on this channel, I might as well talk about what we focus on best on this channel, and that of course being dinosaurs. And in my opinion, this particular dinosaur film is Harryhausen's best movie. I am of course talking about one of the greatest dinosaur movies of all time with Hammer's 1966 remake of 1 Million Years BC. Taking place in the fictional timeline of the title of this prehistoric Earth, the story centers around the beginning of man and his survival against the ancient Mesozoic world. Beginning with the Rock Tribe, led by Akoba, played by Robert Brown, who leads his tribe through the desert wilderness along with his two rivaled sons, Zucana, played by Percy Herbert, and the hero of the film, Tumac, played by John Richardson. Tumac! Returning to their cavern home within the heights of an active volcano after a day of hunting, a fight breaks out between father and son as Akoba banishes Tumac to the outside world alone in the harsh desert. for some reason. I don't know, maybe Tumac stole his goddamn pinwheels.
Get a goddamn dog! Get out!
Encountering a vast amount of prehistoric life. Collapsing upon an ocean beach, he discovers a cave girl named Luana, played by the only thing people remember from this movie outside of the dinosaurs and the poster from Shawshank Redemption, Raquel Welch, and is rescued by the Shell tribe after an encounter with an Archeolon. Returning to the Shell tribe's village, Tumac is welcomed with open arms by the tribe and learns a thing or two in advanced life. But after an attack by an Allosaurus, Tumac is banished from the tribe yet again, and Luana goes with them as the two survive in the wilderness with more prehistoric monsters in order to return to the Rock tribe and bring peace to their warring tribes, making way for the true dawn of man.
And that is our story.
So, out of all of Ray Harryhausen's films, how does this one stack up compared to classics like The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, among others? Well, in my opinion, this movie is hands down my all-time favorite of the stop-motion master's work. On top of that, it's easily hands down one of the best dinosaur movies ever made. Okay, it may not be historically accurate in terms of prehistoric science, since dinosaurs and man never coexisted outside of the movies and the works of Arthur Conan Doyle, among others, but it's still a fantastic film from its outstanding stop-motion photography, action scenes, environments, music, and of course its characters. The first being Tumac. While the film doesn't have much in terms of dialogue, it's more of a physically acted film, and John Richardson gives Tumac a great character arc. In the beginning of the film, he's as much of a brutal beast as the rest of his tribe, but out of all the tribesmen along with his father, he seems the most intelligent and also the most kind. That still doesn't excuse the amount of horrific, brutal faces the guy makes. But as the film progresses, especially after meeting Luana, his temper is more calm and collective, and in return redeems himself by learning the value of life, love, and protection for those he cares about. Even after his father banishes him to the Outlands, when he returns, he still has respect for the old man. Ain't that right, Dad?
Fuck off.
Alright, love you too. On top of that, Richardson really built himself up in physical strength for acting, stunts, and fight scenes. You gotta give him major props for working his ass off. Just keep him a few feet away from the camera, cause he could try to murder it.
Oh my god, too much to eat me!
Then, of course, there's the pin-up starlet of the 60s that is Raquel Welch as Luana. And there's no denying that this film made her a superstar overnight. Hell, it's why the movie did so damn well. The poster basically sold out the movie, and it was so popular that it even made it into other films like The Shawshank Redemption. Hammer originally offered the part to Ursula Andress, but she turned it down due to prior commitments and salary demands. But with Welch, do I consider her as attractive as most people did?
Well, okay.
I mean, yes, of course she is very beautiful in this film, but I'd rather focus on her acting abilities more than her physical appearances. And for the most part, given she's more of a model, Welch actually does a good job with the material, playing a very kind and gentle spirit. While she does play the damsel in distress at times whenever she's in danger, she still makes up for it with some good range of emotions. For example, this scene when she's out in the wilderness. This is her first time as a character being around such wild dangers, and for her, it's pretty terrifying and kind of sad when she reaches out for Tumac for comfort. So as much as people watch her for her appearance, I gotta give her major credit for some decent acting. The rest of the cast ranges from fun to bland, unfortunately. Our villain of the piece, with Tumac's brother Zucana, is an intimidating character and in a ways evolves with Tumac for all the wrong reasons. Both brothers start as barbaric animals and eventually learn different human values and emotions. While Tumac learns of affection for human life, Zucana learns the value of power and control to become a pretty chilling tyrant of the Rock tribe. Once Tumac is essentially banished, he sees his chance to finally have it in him to show his true hatred of his father and tosses him aside for the throne.
Long live the king.
But when his father returns horrifically injured and disfigured, mind you, he keeps him alive, not out of sympathy, but to show his dominance over the tribe as a form of emotional misery and revenge. And that alone is pretty barbaric in mind. The other characters from Akoba, the Shell Tribe members, along with others, are really just props for the main three, but do have moments to show their characteristics. The really only standout outside of Akoba is Tumac's ex, Nupandi, played by Hammer Babe Martine Beswick. She seems very loyal to Tumac, but becomes vengeful and possessive once Luana appears, which brings on a pretty tense high school catfight, which is pretty brutal to watch on its own. But even then, her intimidation is left abandoned during the rest of the film. I mean, wouldn't it be more strategic if she joined with Sokana to overthrow Tumac rather than try to get back with him? Well, they are cave people, so their mindset is pretty primitive and not as intelligent as we are today.
But who cares about cavemen and models in bikini? Let's talk about the real stars of the show with the dinosaurs!
While most remember the film for Raquel Welch, my fascination with this film is in its outstanding dinosaurs and special effects. And to be perfectly honest, next to Jurassic Park, these are some of the best dinosaur effects in cinema history. Most people would go more so to the original King Kong, which, while was a technical achievement in terms of groundwork, 1 Million perfected it, and it's easily the best stop-motion dinosaur film I've ever seen, especially since these were the first images from the film I ever saw as a young kid, as well as it being essentially my first look at Harryhausen's work, which left a massive impact on me in my youth. The Allosaurus attack was honestly the first Harryhausen thing I ever saw on a VHS documentary called Jurassic Giants, Dinosaurs and More, or Dinosaurs Myth and Reality. Either way, it introduced me to Ray's work, and the effects were and still are incredibly realistic. At the time, Harryhausen had pretty much perfected his craft as the true king of stop motion, with the use of rear screen projected footage of the actors with the stop motion creatures in the foreground. Sure, it was cheaper than building miniature jungle sets like the original King Kong, but with technology constantly evolving and bringing new innovations, it worked 1000% here. Every creature of the prehistoric era gets a chance to shine, from the Brontosaurus' majestic size trekking through the mountain deserts, to the oversized Archelon making his way to shore, and even... What the fuck?
How did the giant spider and tarantula get into a Ray Harryhausen dinosaur movie?
Well, to be fair, the film did cut a few corners on its creative effects, but they end up becoming some fun highlights, such as the giant iguana hunting Tumac, which actually turned out to be Harryhausen's idea. Maybe he had planned it to be a Stegosaurus or some other dinosaur, but from what I read, Harryhausen suggested it to cut costs. It was a very similar strategy to Irwin Allen's remake of The Lost World, or Journey to the Center of the Earth, or even the original 1 Million BC as sort of a tribute. But unlike the cruelty of the lizards by gluing horns and making them fight each other, the iguana used was a trained pet without any need to mod it and shoot it at a high frame rate to make it seem larger. However, shooting the animal was a pain in the ass, given the iguana fell asleep in the hot studio lights, and Harryhausen had to make it open its mouth on par of operating a hand puppet. But hey, it's more convincing puppetry than in The Mighty Gorga. God, that movie sucks. Ray's intent of the lizard being the first prehistoric creature on screen was to make the audience believe that the animated characters later in the film would be much more believable. However, that backfired given comparisons between it and the dinosaurs later. And with that said, let's just get to these awesome creatures. The Allosaurus scene is one of the best human on dino action scenes ever put to film. The interactions between the actors and the animated creature is absolutely beautiful. Harryhausen always stated that animating theropods was his favorite to work with. During the shoot on the sound stages, the actors mostly had to improv and use their imaginations acting alongside a stagehand holding up a pole so that Harryhausen would know where to block out the shots. Way more technically advanced than the guy in the stiff T-Rex suit in the original. Some of the scenes even incorporated rear screen projection for the actors, much like scenes in King Kong. The Pteranodon scenes are also a great highlight as they grab Raquel Welch in an amazing dogfight for the beautiful morsel. Again, very similar to Fay Ray in the original Kong. During location shooting, Raquel had to duck behind a foreground rock and then become a small doll that the flying reptile grips in its claws. A classic trick that any filmmaker can do nowadays. But I will say animating flying creatures on wires is a real pain in the ass. I mean, even for little kids in school back in the day, they don't even bother to animate it in flight. This scene was so iconic that Hammer did a similar scene again in their Jim Danforth animated sequel when dinosaurs ruled the Earth. The 1 Million BC models were given Batwing-like designs to be more airborne, which, to be fair, I like a lot more than in King Kong, where it looks less like a reptilian bird and more like a butterfly.
It's a butterfly! Birdie!
However, the highlight of the film goes to the iconic beast war between the Ceratosaurus and the Triceratops, and oh my god! By far, this is the greatest dinosaur fight I have ever seen in a motion picture. Screw the fights in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. This shit is on par with Kong's battle with the mighty T-Rex. And that's due to the visual realism of the creatures fighting. The animation, the background plates, the foreground effects, and the lack of music, only replaced with the brutal sounds of the dinosaurs fighting. It's honestly awe-inspiring. When I think of the late Cretaceous period and the likes of Triceratops and its predatory rival being the last species of dinosaurs fighting for survival of the fittest to extinction, it's definitely one of Ray's highest pieces of brilliance. Plus, the Triceratops is easily my favorite design of the creature. It was so good that Ray actually replaced the body for the Styracosaurus in the following dinosaur feature, the Valley of Guangzhi. In fact, if you would like to see Harryhausen's iconic models up close and completely restored, check out the Ray Harryhausen Foundation exhibit in London, England. The Brontosaurus was actually supposed to be for the climax of the film, with the tribes battling the giant beast, but the studio decided to scrap it given to having too many creature scenes as is. It's unclear if the scene was ever completed, but with promotional photos on hand, it'd be cool to see the scene restored and released. And hell, maybe even a fan recreation would be nice. Hell, Peter Jackson stated that the Brontosaurus design in his King Kong remake was pretty much a carbon copy of the Harryhausen model, with the design going all the way back to the original 1996 project.
We designed a very classic, very Harryhausen-esque Brontosaur. Similar to the one that Ray had done for 1 million years BC. I always thought it was actually, you know, quite a similar looking Brontosaur, a very, very classic design.
Which brings us to the origins of the project. In the 1960s, Hammer were the kings of horrors, remaking all the iconic monsters of the Golden Age, with Christopher Lee as Dracula and Peter Cushing as Dr. Victor Frankenstein. With 99 films under their belt, they wanted to celebrate their 100th film with a remake of course, King Kong. If you would like to know my full thoughts on this cancelled project, check out my King Kong review on the subject. The short version was RKO wouldn't allow it due to their no remakes policy, which, to be fair, we could definitely use today. But plans were to get Harryhausen or Jim Danforth to animate Kong and his Monster Island buddies. So instead, Hammer decided to remake the 1940s low-budget prehistoric schmuck 1 million BC, given its public domain at the time. Though not to be confused with 1 million AC/DC, which, do I even need to describe? Yeah, not worth the time, folks. Anyway, with plans to go ahead, Ray was instantly brought on board thanks to connections with Morningside Productions, living in England at the time, and Harryhausen, always being fascinated by dinosaurs, saw this as a perfect opportunity to perfect his craft animating these prehistoric creatures, given he had only a few minor gigs with dinosaurs in his cancelled pre-Fantasia project Evolution, the prototype Godzilla B-movie The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and his work with Willis O'Brien on the Walt Disney-produced The Animal World. And while the film is mostly credited to Ray and Raquel respectively, director Don Chaffee did a brilliant job visualizing the world, characters, and creatures with his vision. It was also one of the largest budgets for Hammer at the time, with over $700,000, which compared to most Hammer productions being made on the cheap was pretty pricey for the time. It was clear Hammer had a lot of faith in this film, celebrating its 100th production, and it turned out to be one of their most successful films, earning $8 million at the box office, mainly due to the marketing with the iconic poster and Harryhausen's incredible dinosaur effects. The majority of the location shooting was shot in Spain in the deserted mountain countryside, while most of the effects work and tribe camps were shot in the London studios. The volcanic climax was a miniature along with a 2-meter model in the backdrops of the backlot. So when the volcano was exploding, it actually exploded for real on camera with the actors. No blue screen or rear screen projected needed. Pretty impressive. The soundtrack by Mario Neskimbe is easily one of Hammer's best film scores. Mario created a sense of natural sounds and grand epicness to the score, with each tribe having different themes and beats. The Rock tribe, being more of a brutal, primitive nature, are given beats of rocks clanking, and it's honestly kinda chilling. The Shell tribe doesn't really have much of a theme, but it more or less connects to the love theme between Tumac and Luana with its haunting choir. And when it combines it with the main theme, it's a massive wave of prehistoric power stomping into epicness. The soundtrack was released in limited incomplete vinyl prints in 1985 and was later re-released on CD in 1994, but is unfortunately out of print and can be quite pricey. And to be honest, the score's not half bad to listen to on its own. Check it out. Now yes, this movie is overall a masterpiece and one of my favorite dinosaur movies and Ray Harryhausen films in general. But it isn't without its flaws. Well, at least some nitpicks. When it came time for home video releases on VHS and Laserdisc, the film was unfortunately met with the US cut for a long-ass time. When 20th Century Fox distributed the film in the US, a few scenes were slightly trimmed due to the mature content involved, due to the heavy film censorships at the time. While some of the sexualized content I understand, I have no idea why several shots of the dinosaurs were cut. No kid I don't think is gonna have a problem with so much dinosaur action in the film, and for a lot of people, this was the only version available to view. But thankfully, come the days of DVD and digital, the film has been restored to its original UK cut and doesn't affect the film in the slightest. And it's just great to see all of Ray Harryhausen's dinosaur scenes completely uncut and in HD, and it's still sheer beautiful filmmaking magic. And that's about it. This movie is overall a stop-motion masterpiece. In my opinion, next to the original King Kong, 1 Million Years BC is a classic beyond measure and one of Harryhausen's best. It's a film that shows how the pupil surpassed the teacher, from O'Brien to Harryhausen. It's got some great visual characters to root for, amazing cinematography and locations, a grand scale score, and some of the best visual effects the dinosaur genre has to offer, perfected by the king of stop-motion photography. And considering it to be my favorite film that Ray created, it comes in at a rock tribe solid 10 out of 10. Definitely worth digging up and seeing some of the best dinosaurs ever put to the silver screen. Well, that's all the time we have on this episode. Thanks for joining me on this trip 1 million years BC, and if you're a massive dino fan, I'd highly recommend it. But of course I want to hear from you. What's your favorite Ray Harryhausen movie, and what's your favorite Hammer movie in general? Let me know in the comment section below. So until the next video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms, signing out. She is way hotter than Kim Kardashian. In fact, she still looks damn good. You kids have the most fucked up sex symbols. Jesus Christ!
you when I'm ready to take off!
Yes, sir. Are you sure you won't need assistance? You know these dangers of these islands.
Nah! I gotta make this trip alone. I've got a promise to keep to an old friend. Meet me at the rendezvous point.
10-4 base, Chopper 1 is heading back to the ship. Be ready for pickup.
go, my friend. I've missed you. I need your help.